Joe Biden sparks fears for his health as the Democratic presidential contender's eye fills up with blood as he discusses climate change at a CNN town hall. Former Vice President Joe Biden's left eye filled with blood while he was on stage Wednesday during a CNN town hall on climate change. Biden was in the middle of speaking when his eye appeared to fill with blood, but he seemed not to notice. Biden, 76, has already been facing questions over his age and health amid a string of verbal gaffes. Biden also has a long history of health issues, including multiple aneurysms. Reuters and DailyMail.com reporter published 3:16 British Summer Time, 5 September 2019, updated, 8:44 British Summer Time, the 5th of September 2019. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden's left eye appeared to fill up with blood as he answered a question during CNN's climate town hall on Wednesday night. Biden was answering a question about fracking when the blood suddenly became noticeable, as he turned away from the camera to take a question about China's role in carbon emissions. The blood in his eye was easy to spot. Former Vice President Joe Biden's left eye filled with blood while he was on stage Wednesday during a CNN town hall on climate change. Biden was in the middle of speaking when his eye appeared to fill with blood, but he seemed not to notice. The 76-year-old former vice president has long faced questions about his age during the course of his campaign for the Democratic nomination. In October last year, before formally entering the race, Biden said that age is a totally legitimate thing to raise. I think it's totally appropriate for people to look at me and say if I were to run for office again, well god darn you're old. Well chronologically I am old, he said, continuing, every voter is entitled to know exactly what kind of shape you're in. You owe it to them. It's a legitimate question and so I think age is relevant. In the past, Biden has had some serious health struggles. In 1988, he had to have emergency surgery because an aneurysm burst, as reported by the Washington Examiner. A few months later, he had a second aneurysm burst which required Biden to take 7 months off from working in the Senate. They literally had to take the top of my head off, he said later about the operation. Doctors removed a benign polyp during a colonoscopy in 1996. In 2003, Biden had his gallbladder removed. He also suffers from asthma and allergies, and takes a prescription drug to lower his cholesterol. He has also taken medication for an enlarged prostate. Biden hasn't disclosed his medical history since 2008 when doctors found he had an irregular heartbeat. Should he win the 2020 presidential election, he would be the oldest president ever to be inaugurated. Biden, 76, had been facing questions over his age and health amid a string of verbal gaffes. Biden, who served as vice president under former U.S. President Barack Obama and was a senator from Delaware for decades, leads the pack of 20 Democrats seeking the party's nomination to run against Republican incumbent Donald Trump in 2020, polling as high as 32% in some polls, while others trailed him by double digits. He has positioned himself as a pragmatist in a field of candidates who are moving to the left under pressure from the party's progressive wing, winning support from minority voters and others who believe he would be most likely to defeat Trump. But Biden has stumbled in public statements in recent weeks, confusing details of a ceremony honoring soldiers, and mixing up the names of states that he had visited, among others. Former Vice President Joe Biden downplayed his recent verbal slip-ups, saying they were not regarding the substance of his arguments for the presidency. In an appearance on the CBS program The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Biden pretended to confuse Colbert with another comedian and talk show host, Jimmy Kimmel. Why did Biden's eye turn red? Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden's left eye appeared to fill up with blood while answering a question during a CNN debate yesterday. The 76-year-old, who hasn't disclosed his medical history since 2008, was answering a question about fracking when his red eye became noticeable. As he turned away from the camera to take a question about China's role in carbon emissions, the blood in his eye was easy to spot. So, what could have caused it? The Mayo Clinic, a U.S.-based medical center, says the most common causes of red eye are conjunctivitis or burst blood vessels. The former complaint can be caused by an allergy or irritant, such as dust. Coughing and straining can cause blood vessels to burst, the NHS says. Stress is not a recognized cause of burst blood vessels in the eye, known as a subconjunctival hemorrhage. Rise can also be a side effect of eye drops or glaucoma, a condition where the optic nerve, which connects your eye to your brain, gets damaged. While he has long been known for making verbal gaffes and in some circles is almost beloved for them, Democrats desperate to unseat Trump worry that verbal misfires will make the 76-year-old seem too old to take on Trump, even though the two are close in age. Biden joked about his frequent verbal gaffes on one television show while laying out plans to combat climate change on another on Wednesday night, a high-stakes balancing act aimed at shoring up his lead among Democrats seeking their party's nomination. In an appearance on the CBS program The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Biden pretended to confuse Colbert with another comedian and talk show host, Jimmy Kimmel, provoking laughter from the audience. "I think it's fair to go after a political figure for anything," Biden said. "Here's the deal. Any gaffe that I have made, and I've made gaffes like every politician I know, has been not about a substantive issue." To keep his lead, Biden must persuade voters not only that he is strong enough to battle Trump, but that he is serious about taking on important issues that Democrats are passionate about. During the CNN town hall on climate change, Biden was one of 10 Democrats taking questions from viewers, audience members and news anchors. Biden said his plan would create 10 million jobs by moving the country toward a future free of fossil fuels and switching to renewables like solar and wind power. "I think it's fair to go after a political figure for anything," Biden said. "But here's the deal. Any gaffe that I have made, and I've made gaffes like every politician I know, has been not about a substantive issue." He said on CNN that the United States should own the electric vehicle market and has called for putting the United States on track to achieve 100% clean energy and net zero carbon emissions by 2050, recommitting the United States to the Paris Climate Accord. Biden charted a more centrist path than some of his rivals, saying it might not be possible to wean the country from fossil fuels as quickly as some would like. He also was not willing to say that he would immediately ban fracking, a controversial method for extracting oil and gas from shale rock formations. Biden was also forced to defend a fundraiser that involved an official at a company that produces natural gas. Read more. Let's block ads. Why?